Hi, I'm Chelsea. I'm the geeky ballerina. And one of the geeky things I've done was write a master's thesis about elements of artistry as they apply in ballet technique. I love diving into these things. So let's talk about one of the elements of artistry today. We're going to talk about dynamics, which is also often called quality of movement. Also in Laban Movement Analysis, it is referred to as effort. If you choose to study dance in college, you will probably come across Laban Movement Analysis. It's not used very much in like the private dance industry, like studios and competition dance and pre-professional ballet schools. We don't usually get into that kind of thing, but it really is very common in a collegiate setting, and it can be a little bit intimidating or difficult to find the way that those ideas bridge into ballet technique, and information is most useful when you can see how it applies. So I'm going to do my best today to kind of bridge the gap. I am not certified in LMA. I don't have a ton of experience. I have a little. And if someone watching is a Laban Movement Analysis specialist, or you teach it, or you have a certification, I would love if you would comment or link to something you've created so that we can learn from you, because I know a lot about ballet, but as I said, I'm not as familiar with LMA. Laban Movement Analysis is complex, which is awesome, and it's really good. It's a really comprehensive way to analyze movement. And when people are really good at something, they are really confident. So when you have the opportunity to be taught by a specialist in Laban Movement Analysis, it's intimidating because they are so confident, and rightfully so, and you are so unfamiliar with the words that they're using. There's not a superiority, there's not a difficulty gap. It's just those two things, when you combine them together, can lead to some intimidation. Effort is a quality of movement, which makes it part of the discussion on dynamics. Just reminding us where we came from. Effort subdivides. Remember how I said this was comprehensive? Effort subdivides into 4 different areas. So you have flow, weight, time, and space. And then again, it's comprehensive. So things like weave together, and you can combine 2 elements or 3 elements or 4. It's woo. If you like complexity, you might really get into this. But those are the 4 like subsets of effort. Within those 4 subsets, you have opposing applications. Like if you wanted to like diagram this out, it's complex. It's okay. We're just going to look at this really simply so that when you have the opportunity to learn from a specialist, you have a foundation to build from. So let's look at flow. You can have outpouring and you can have bound. There are no judgments here. One is not better than the other. They're just different. So outpouring flow is flowing outwards. An example in ballet would be a glisse en avant. You are gliding and flowing out into the space. A good example of bound flow would be dégagé. You're in 5th, you're not in 5th. You're in 5th, you're not in 5th. And we're not really enjoying the journey between the 2 places. The next like subdivision that we're going to look at is weight, which can be light or heavy. I prefer to think of them in terms of like buoyant and grounded. We're not talking about your weight as a person. We're talking about the sense of tethered to the earth that your movement has. You can be buoyant, for example, in a pas de chat, or you can be more grounded, which is a sense that I use a lot when I'm helping beginning point dancers and we're springing into a releve. We can't be super buoyant. We need to actually ground in order to be stable in the shape and to develop the balance that we need. If you wanted to make this a little bit more complex while still only looking at one sub-element, I think développé is a really cool way to combine the 2 ideas of grounded and buoyant. Your supporting leg needs to be very grounded, but you want your developing leg to be really buoyant. So not only can we be working with multiple things and interweaving them in all kinds of ways, you can be holding one idea two different ways inside your own body. It's cool, but it's complex. Next subdivision that we're going to talk about is time. And again, I'm going over these very basically so that we have a level of familiarity. But with our time, we can have sustained and we can have sudden. So sustained movements tend to be rondejams are usually sustained, développés are usually sustained, anything that is an adagio is sustained. More sudden movement would be, for example, a soda shah. Like soda shahs are so cool when all of a sudden just boom, the picture exploded and you're like, did I blink? What happened here? That can be a really great example of sudden time. The last subdivision is space. This one is more abstract. You have indirect and direct, but we're not really talking about the pathway through space. It's more about your intention and attention. Indirect space, this ties really well into eyeline, which is a different element of artistry, but like an indirect space would be more meandering, more taking in the world around you. So for example, if you were dancing Clara and you go into the living room for the first time and there's this amazing tree and there are these presents and there are friends and you're kind of interested in everything, that is indirect. Whereas direct space is, it's direct. You are focused on one thing. An example of direct focus in a traditional ballet role would be Giselle, particularly during the mad scene. She is focused on, that Daisy said that he loved her and the Daisy lied and we have problems. That is direct. So again, this was just a really brief overview because I know that Laban Movement Analysis has so much potential to help us as ballet dancers, but is so complex that it can be difficult to start with. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a place to start in case you want to explore it more. It really can be a really cool tool as you're looking at dynamics, ways to vary your quality of movement, which really helps you be a much more expressive artist. If you are interested in other elements of artistry, I do have all of them listed on my website, geekyballerina.com. And I do talk about a different element of artistry each month in my monthly newsletter. I give a technique tip and I talk about an element of artistry because ballet is my happy place. As always, I hope you have a really great class.